Connections connect to data, just like you might expect. Commands allow you to manipulate or retrieve that data. Now, I've got to be clear here. We're using the word connection and command, but there are no such objects in the .NET framework. We're using those names because they're convenient, but we're actually referring to objects like SQL connection or OLEDB connection or SQL command or OLEDB command. So don't be confused as we talk through and work through examples using these shortcut names. In any case, the command object allows you to retrieve rows meeting a criterion. You can execute a SQL statement that inserts, deletes, or modifies data. You can also retrieve just a single piece of data if you want, using a command object. You need to remember that a command object is always connected in order to do its work. It requires that connection object in order to retrieve data. Once you have the data, of course, the command object can be disconnected and you won't be interacting with it again until it's time to perhaps get more data or put the data back where it came from. And at that point, the command object will again need to be connected to do its work. The command object executes a query. That means you give it an SQL or SQL statement, and it does the work. The command object requires, first, a connection to some data store, some place to go get the data from, and also an indication of what kind of work to do. For all the examples you'll see here, we'll be using a SQL statement, usually a select statement, to go out and retrieve data back to us. Now, although we could have covered this both for the SQL client and OLEDB namespaces, it's pretty much the same. So for most of the examples you'll see, we'll use the SQL client namespace because it's easier working with that namespace because setting up the connection string is very straightforward. Sometimes we'll want to display things using the OLEDB namespace, and in that case, we'll use a Microsoft Access or JET MDB file. In that case, we need to supply an actual path within the file system, and that gets a little more complicated.